Welcome to another episode of Foresight TV. You will notice it's a little weird today. There's no guest here. I have never done this solo before, but I want to talk to you today about how to create cultures where everybody loves coming to work every single day. But before we get started, this. Hey guys, Steve Moran here. I'm going to start by saying that I'm just a little bit nervous about the comments today because I was talking to my team on our Friday morning meeting. They all threatened to come in and talk about how terrible it is to work for Foresight for me as a boss. So I have no idea what is going to happen with the comments. I want to start with a story. It may be hard to imagine, but once upon a time, I was a volunteer ski patroller. And it was something as a kid, I'd see these ski patrol guys and they'd be skiing with these red jackets and white crosses. And it meant they could cut lines and they'd be able to ski down the hill with these toboggans with injured people behind them. And it was really, really cool. And I didn't really think I was ever good enough to ski that way. But when I got to be an adult, I learned I could ski well enough to be a ski patrol. So I went through this huge amount of training to be able to be a ski patroller in Southern California, place called Big Bear Mountain. And we had a huge volunteer patrol that backed up a small paid contingent of patrollers. And the volunteers would come in on the weekends and on holidays because there were just so many wrecks that it would have been impossible to serve the mountain with just the paid patrollers. And it was a great time. There was tremendous camaraderie. We would look at the customers, and we knew a lot of them were inexperienced and that they do dumb things. And we were very, very tolerant of that. And we just tried to help people out. Our job was to make the patrol look good, to make the mountain look good. And it was an amazing experience. People loved coming to ski. They loved being part of the patrol. Then I moved to Northern California. And so I went looking for a new patrol. And I didn't want to go to a mountain that was too tough. There's an old guy already. And so I found this little mountain up in the Tahoe area. I don't want to besmirch them, so I'm not going to tell you their name. And I signed up for the patrol and I started working. And the environment was completely different. It was like, I don't know, it was like being a part of a bad police department, where we as patrollers were king of the mountains, and you as a public, you had to do whatever we did. And I didn't really think too much about it at the time. I was just there and I was doing my ski thing, and I knew it wasn't as much fun as when I was doing it in Southern California. Well, one of the things that patrollers have to do is that at the end of the day, after they turn the ski lifts off, if you'd ever paid attention, you notice that all ski patrollers will be at the tops of every mountain. And when the lifts are turned off, they give it a little bit of time. They have typically some closing activities they have to do, and then they do something called sweep. And what happens with sweep is the patrollers cover the entire mountain, either skiing every run or being where they can look down a run all the way to the bottom, to make sure that nobody is stuck on the mountain, because leaving somebody on the mountain overnight, of course, is a terrible thing. It's dangerous. It's really, really bad. So one day I got assigned to the bunniest of the bunny runs, and it was in December, so it was getting dark really, really early. And easy sweep run, except it was kind of a long run because it was shallow. And so I started down and I'd be skiing down and we'd go back and forth because we'd be looking over the edges. And as we'd be going down, we'd go closing, last run. And we'd be doing this all the way down. And I'm about halfway down the hill when I come across this family of 6 or 8 people. And they are going so slow. And it's snowing and the clouds are low and it's getting dark. And so I ski up to them and I say, hey guys, it's closed, the mountain's closing, need to get down, need to keep you safe. And they say, okay. But I think they maybe had been drinking a little bit of something, I'm not sure. But they would ski like, I don't know, 10 feet, and they'd fall over. And they would all fall. And once one would fall, another one would fall, and they'd start laughing and giggling, and they'd have to take off their skis. And they'd take, I don't know, it seemed like an hour each time they did this. It was really only a few minutes. And so they'd get it on. And of course, I couldn't ski past them. I had to make sure they were off the mountain before I could get down for the day. And I still had to drive home for a couple hours, and it was not much fun. And after about the 5th time this happened, I just stopped and I just exploded and I yelled at them and I just told them they were being jerks and inconsiderate and they needed to get off the mountain. And as the words finished coming out of my mouth, I was shocked because I thought, that is not who I am. That is not how I should ever treat people. But the reason I did it was because the ski patrol culture on that mountain made that okay. I knew that I would never get in trouble for doing that. More than that, I knew that if I got down to the mountain and I told this story about how there was this family that was falling down over and over again, and I yelled at them, I would have been applauded for doing that. So why do I tell you this story? The only difference between the two mountains was the leadership culture on those two mountains. And so you as a leader have this unique opportunity to create this environment where people are kind and caring and loving. And when they do that, they love coming to work, or where they are aggressive and they end up behaving in ways that actually are not natural to them. And we tend to think that we either have good employees or bad employees. But the truth of the matter is, you as a leader turn those employees into what they are based on how you lead. And so I want to talk to you today for a few minutes. There are 4 things about how you can create this amazing culture where everybody wants to come to work, where your culture is the hottest party in town. But I want to start by telling you my dream for you. So my dream for you is that you wake up in the morning. Let's go back to Sunday afternoon, and you've had this amazing, amazing weekend. And it's Sunday afternoon, and you're starting to think about going to the office, to your community or your corporate office on Monday. And right now, I know that a lot of you, when you do that, you're thinking, oh man, right now, here it is, it's Friday. If you're watching this live, I'm getting ready to go back to getting home for the weekend, and then I've got to go back and do this thing again on Monday. But instead of feeling that way, as you come into your Sunday evening, as you're closing out and you're getting ready to go to bed, you're thinking about your Monday and you're thinking, oh man, I can hardly wait to get back to work. And you start thinking about the things you have to do, the lives you have to change. And when your alarm goes off in the morning, you're excited about getting up and going to work. And you know that when you walk into your building, you're going to walk into love and care and compassion. And that's not to say everything is perfect, that there aren't problems. We work in a business where people lives end in our communities, but we have this opportunity to create this amazing environment for our residents and for their families. And so you go in and you've got a family member waiting there to see you when you walk into your office. But instead of thinking, oh no, another complaint, you already know that they're just coming in to talk to you about what an amazing job you and their staff did as mom lived out her last few days the week before. And you've got new interviews with people, and you don't even have positions for them, but they've been referred by friends and they're excited about doing it. And pretty soon you go through your day and it's just one positive interaction after another. And it gets to be about 5 or 5:30 and you think, man, what an amazing day. Where did my day go? And then you head home. But when you head home, you're not sitting in your car worrying about the phone ringing or worrying that some terrible thing is going to happen. You are completely confident in your staff that they're going to do an amazing job, and that you can sit down with your family and know that the only reason your phone's going to ring is if you have some disaster like an earthquake or a fire that takes place, because your staff is empowered and they know how to handle problems and they know how to care for residents. And so you go to bed feeling excited about what's happening, knowing that when you wake up in the morning, you get to do it all over again. You're not stressed out. You love your vacations, but you can also hardly wait to get back to work. And here's the other thing is when this happens, you find that your building will be full, your margins will be high, rather than having your leadership complaining to you, if you're an executive director, about why your numbers aren't great. They're going to be applauding you and they're going to be saying, I wonder if we should promote you to another level. So the question is, how do you get that? There are 5 things you need to do. And the one other thing I want to say before I get to these 5 things is that there are companies that are doing this already. There are senior living organizations out there where they're getting hundreds and hundreds of job applicants every single month. They're hiring the 1 or 2 or 3 people, the best 1 or 2 or 3 people that they need, and they're tossing the rest of those applicants back out for you to hire. There are senior living companies that have low turnover, 10%, 15%, 20%. And this is something that you can do. It is completely as a leader in your control, whether you're an executive director, whether you're a department head, whether you're a regional leader or a corporate leader. This is in your power. And I want to talk about how you can do that. So the first thing is that you have to have something that is special and unique about your organization. So think about it. There are fast food chains, and then there's In-N-Out Burger. So if you run into somebody who says, I work for Taco Bell or McDonald's or Burger King or Arby's, I don't know, does Arby's still exist? I think they do. Does Arby's still, Wendy's, whatever they are, they're all sort of the same. And you sort of, if you tell the truth, you're sort of thinking, man, unless they're a high school kid, you sort of, I'm sorry, that must be terrible. But if you run into somebody who says, I work at In-N-Out, even if they're doing the exact same job, working the drive-through counter, the first thing you say is, what's it like? It's really cool, right? And they go, oh man, I love my job. And I suppose there's somebody out there who works for McDonald's or Taco Bell who says, I love their job, but I promise you it's not many people. And so what makes the difference? It's not the food, because as I talk to people, so I'm a vegetarian, right? So I don't eat hamburgers. I don't know. I talk to a few people who say the In-N-Out Burger hamburgers are more or less the same as everybody else. So I guess the French fries are a little better. The milkshakes are a little better. But that's not it. That's not what makes it better. What makes it better is that everybody who's working there knows they're working for something that's special and cool. The same thing is true with Starbucks, right? There are lots and lots of coffee shops out there. And when you think about it today, as you find in my airport, we have a Pete's, and they pretty much look like the Starbucks. And yet there's something that's just special about working in that. And so you've got to have something in your organization where you can say, we're not just like everybody else. I was in Florida a few years ago, and I was sort of mystery shopping some senior living communities. I'd been down there for a conference. I had an extra day, and I just wanted to knock around some communities. And it was the last one I was going to be visiting before I got to the airport. And I had this very ordinary tour, and I was talking to the salesperson. And I told them that I was running a media company, so I wasn't really mystery shopping it. And I'd also visited another building that was just maybe a mile down the street. And so I looked at the salesperson and I said, so what is it that makes your community better or different than the one down the street? And her answer was this long pause, followed by, I don't know, I think maybe we're less expensive. That's not special. Nobody's going to say, I love working for my senior living company because we charge less than the guys down the street. So we've got to be able to talk about what makes you unique and special. And it doesn't have to be a big deal. I teach a bunch of fourth, fifth, and sixth graders at my church every Saturday, the junior Sabbath school class. And every week, as I talk to them, I remind them that it is the best junior Sabbath school class in the whole wide world. And is it? It is, because they are there, because I am there, we're there together, even though there are thousands of other classes that are happening at the same time, or at least hundreds, and each one's got a teacher and each one's got a group of kids. But we've just decided that we're going to be special, we're going to be unique, and every one of them knows that that is true. So I look at Starbucks and how they have turned it into this very, very special brand. How Howard Schultz has turned it into this very, very special brand. I got to look at my notes here. And the thing is you actually have to believe it. So a big part of making this works has to be a slogan that everybody can own. So at Senior Living Foresight, here comes the danger. Maybe, I don't know, maybe nobody's on. Here's the danger, is that at Senior Living Foresight, we talk all the time about how our core value, the most important thing we do is put out content to improve the lives of people who live in senior living. And we talk about it, we tell stories about it. Once in a while, we tell stories where maybe we fail about it, but it is our North Star that we're focusing on all the time. And I think if you were to talk to anybody who were part of the Foresight team, they would be able to tell you that our primary goal is to make the lives of people who live and work in senior living better, and that it feels like it is working for being a part of something that is super, super special, that is changing the world of senior living. And you can do this at any level. You can be a luxury senior living community, and you can be doing this. You can be a mid-level senior living community. You can even be a low-end senior living community where you are changing the world. You could even steal our North Star and talk about how you are changing the lives of residents and families and team members in your community. You can't just talk about it, though. You have to believe that it's true. It has to be in your heart and your soul. You can't fake this. I've heard too many stories about companies starting their meeting, reading their mission statement about how great they are and how noble the mission statement is. And then they start talking about business. And somebody will say, well, how about we do this because it helps further our mission? And somebody else will say, oh man, that's a great idea, but we can't afford to do that. So we're going to do something that actually tears down our mission. So you've got to be able to eat, sleep, and breathe it. As you likely know, Howard Schultz founded Starbucks. It was this amazing, amazing culture. He stepped back as CEO, he retired, and a new CEO came in, and immediately the financial performance started tanking. And so he stepped back in and brought it back up. And then a little over a year ago, he stepped away again. New leadership came in. And once again, the finances are tanking. And so a few weeks ago, he wrote an open letter to the leadership of Starbucks, outlining what they needed to do. And he said the first thing they needed to do is they needed to have humility, and they needed to go put on a green apron and work in the stores and really understand what's going on. And so if you're sitting in your office all day as an executive director, you're not you're missing the cadence of your building. You're missing this amazing opportunity. If you're a regional and you're just running from community to community and you're putting out fires, you're missing an opportunity. You need to be sitting down and just talking to residents, talking to team members, asking them what's going on, how they're doing. And if you're corporate, there's so many things to do at the corporate level, but there is nothing like getting into your building. Imagine what it would be like, the message you would send if you spent a day as the CEO, as a front office person, or washing dishes in the kitchen, or serving food. You would learn so much. It would send such a powerful, powerful message to your teams so that people would love coming to work every day. You have to eat, sleep, and breathe this thing. You have to be asking, what can I be doing better for my team members? What can I be doing better for my families? What can I be doing better for my residents? The third thing is you have to like and trust your team. We had a big conversation about this in our team meeting today. I was earlier this week, I had a conversation with a leader outside senior living in a not-for-profit organization. And this particular person was telling me how she had this leadership team she was a part of. And she said, but I'm not really friends with any of those people. I don't actually like them. I would never hang out with any of those people after work. Now, I don't know that you need to be very best friends with people, but if you're in a leadership position, you've got to at least like and have at least a friendly relationship with the people that you work with. If it's only going to work, you're never going to be able to trickle down any kind of culture to the rest of your team. And we spent a long time talking about this. I get this. I've worked some jobs where I hated it. I didn't have any friends. That may happen, but the data all shows that when people have friends at work, they stay longer and they're happier. And so figuring out, it has to start at the top level. If you're not friends with, you don't like the people you're working with, it will never work. Number 4. You have to be transparent about what's going on in your organization. I was listening to an interview with the CEO of NVIDIA, a company that is just blowing their earnings out. Their stock price has gone up like 500% in the last year. And I'm not sure I'd recommend this, but he's actually got a senior leadership team of 60 people. He doesn't believe in one-on-ones, and he believes. But one of the things he said about one-on-ones is, he said, if I've got information that I need to convey or things we need to talk about with 1 or 2 leaders, I should be talking about it to the entire leadership team so that they're fully appraised of where we're going, where we're winning, where we're struggling, where we're doing things. We've got to be willing to talk about how our organizations are doing. It is such a powerful thing, and it's really, really hard. I mean, it's easy if things are good, right? But it's really, really hard if you've got challenges that you're facing. But when you talk to people about your challenges, about the challenges of the organization, they will trust you more. You also have to be willing to give credit and to celebrate. So the last Senior Living Executive Conference that happened in Phoenix a few weeks ago, I put together 4 proposals to speak at breakouts, and I got 4 rejection letters. And I wasn't very happy about it. But what made me proudest was that somebody reached out to Rachel on our team and asked her to speak at one of the presentations. Now, I teased her that I was mad about it, but you know what? I was so delighted. I was so proud. And then just 2 weeks ago, I was at another conference in Southern California, and there was a panel presentation, and the moderator said, I've got time for one more question. And my hand shot up, and Jack Cumming, who's also a part of our gang, his hand shot up, and Jack got the question and not me. when that happens, when one of your team members has something like that, you still get the credit. It's better. It's better. It's better for your organization. It's better for you. It's better for you, except maybe for your ego when that happens. And the final thing is you have to do this every single day, over and over and over again. So it can be really hard to do. And I want to help you do that. I've created a tool that will make it easier for you to do. So I'm going to pop up this QR code. And if you can pop that up when you scan that, and this will still work all week if you're looking at this as a recording. We'll probably stop checking it after a week or two. So if you want the resource, you need to reach out and touch us. But all you have to do is scan that QR code or use the link talk.ac.foresight and then type in the word foresight, put in a little bit of information. And next week, I will send you this list of 101 things that you can do to lead better tomorrow. It's a great, great list. I've used all of them in various settings. There's one really hard thing. I'm going to start by saying that. And one of them is that right now, every one of you has somebody that you should go fire. And you know who it is. When I do this live, every time I talk about this, people go, yep, I got somebody I know who should fire. You should go do that tomorrow. That's the hardest one. Everything else is a lot more fun, a lot easier. So sit back and relax. I'm going to tell you a final story while you're finishing the finishing the survey with Talkadoc. I was 19 years old and my grandfather died. Been to just a couple of funerals. I was, as probably true with a lot of teenagers, I was sort of creeped out by funerals, and flew from Northern California, the little town where I lived with my parents, to Southern California. And I walked into, and this grandfather, he was a preacher and a Bible teacher, and I was always kind of afraid of him. He seemed sort of stern and judgmental and judgy. And I remember one time when he was sick and we knew he was going to die, he had a brain tumor. He wanted to spend time with each of his grandkids one-on-one. And I remember going in to see him, and I was just terrified that he was going to tell me what a great disappointment I was and how I lived my life. It didn't actually go that way. He was affirming and loving, and it was a very great experience. But I remember walking into this big, huge church where they were holding his funeral service, and I was shocked because there were 1,000 people at his funeral. And it wasn't because he was like this famous guy. You know, we've seen some big funerals. I remember a number of years ago when Michael Jackson had his funeral, and it was in this auditorium with 28,000 people, and people lined up for hours to be there. And he wasn't famous like that. But he had 1,000 people there because he had changed those people's lives. He had made their lives better. And so as I thought about it, and as I think about it, my dream for me, my dream for you, is to have 1,000-person funeral or a 10,000-person funeral, because you have had this amazing, wonderful impact on people's lives. And it's the only thing we actually can leave behind. I know you can do it. It's not easy. If you take these 4 steps, if you have something that you stand for, if you love on your people like crazy, if you affirm your people like crazy, if you trust your people like crazy, and if you do it over and over again, you will have amazing results. You will not sweat going to work every day. Your team will love working for you. They will say great things about you. And most importantly of all, you will change the world. Have a great weekend, and we will be back next Friday with another great show with Tom Great.